What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hammerdown Motorsports. My name is Steve Fast. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. It is 78 degrees in Pennsylvania. We're cruising around in the 2019 Ram, and I wanted to share with you some of my likes and dislikes about this truck. I'm not going to go into numbers or how many dislikes, how many likes, and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to throw at you guys a bit of my experience with buying the truck, with going through the whole process and owning the truck for 6 months, towing with it, driving the snow, driving in the summertime, just basically everything that's happened so far. So starting out, we bought this truck in January of this year. It was brand new. It was on the lot already. I didn't get to pick my options. I've said this before, but I wanted to basically get the closest thing we possibly could get to what we wanted if we were to order it or whatever. And then I was just going to throw on the accessories that were going to make it the truck that I wanted. Now, these people all don't know how to drive, so I'm gonna go around them right now. So we ended up getting this truck, and it basically was what I wanted, other than that it didn't have steps, it didn't have the tonneau cover, which, I mean, the factory tonneau covers are junk anyway, so I didn't even want one of those. We ended up getting a roll and lock. We got the power steps from Todd TSE's, and we ended up spending a little bit of money on that just to get everything the way we wanted it, but the roll and lock's been working out great. It was pretty easy to install. There's a video on that if you guys want to check it out. And the amp steps, same kind of thing. Everything bolts onto factory hardware, and they wire up pretty easily. I was a little bit fussy with mine when I went through the whole install process and all that kind of good thing, but it all went on, it's all installed. Everything's been working great. We've been through the rain, we've been through all kinds of stuff with it. No issues whatsoever with either one of those products. And so yeah, the truck's been pretty good so far. Now, there is one thing that happened. This is kind of a personal thing that happened to me, is at the dealership, the guy that I dealt with, the sales manager is a guy that I know, and he's actually a really good guy to deal with, and I've never had a problem with him whatsoever. But there's a salesperson that I dealt with is not exactly in my good books. The guy, basically, when I brought the truck back to the dealership to talk about the paint imperfections, like the chips on the hood, and you can see where something had scratched the hood, and that was on it from the day that I bought it, because I took it over to Westy's shop, who's a body guy, and if he looks at your vehicle, he will find every imperfection in it in about 5 seconds. So he saw that right away and was like, oh, so did it come with the chips in the hood? I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I didn't even notice it, because when we got the truck, it was raining, and we didn't get to see any of that stuff. They actually dropped it off to us at night. So we didn't really get to go through the whole checking it over to be able to just say, okay, well, this is wrong with this truck, so I want you guys to fix it. So long story short, I go to the dealership, I say, hey man, the weather's nice now, would you like to come check out the truck? There's some issues that I noticed. And he's like, oh no, actually the guy that's got to look at it, he's maybe not in the building. And I kept getting these convoluted stories, like kind of basically, we're gonna keep you here long enough until you leave. So the guy was treating me like, basically I did it, basically treating me like I'm a liar, that I just wanted them to fix something that I did, and basically made me pretty angry, and I will never, ever, ever deal with this guy ever again. It pretty much infuriates me, even just to tell this story of how ignorant this particular person is. He should not be a salesperson. He should not be dealing with the public. They should put him in the back pushing paper or something that he might be good at, because selling cars definitely isn't it. So at the end of the day, I ended up buying the touch-up paint, and actually know the guy at the dealership that works in the parts department. I told him the story. He knows that guy too. He's like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That guy's a waste of skin. And he ended up giving me the touch-up paint for free, which was really nice of him. So that dealership, I mean, they're not all bad. It's just that one particular person that I never ever want to deal with ever again. So what I ended up doing, I touched up the chips. I touched up all the rock chips, which I've talked about before. The paint on these trucks is really fragile. I've had other black vehicles. I've never had one that scratches as easily as this one does, or rock chips as easily as this one does. I've had to do a ton of touch up on it, but all in all, you can't really tell once you touch it up. So I mean, things are gonna happen. It's just kind of part of owning a new vehicle. And honestly, there's probably been a couple scratches happen on this truck just during this video, because it seems that every time I look at it, there's a new one. So I really do like the way the black truck looks, but I think if I had to do it all over again, I might just go with a white one, just because that kind of paint doesn't really show as much as black does. But also, when a black truck is clean, I don't think there's any other vehicle that looks as good as that, so it's kind of a trade-off depending on what you want to deal with. So if you are considering buying one of these trucks, there's a few things you want to consider. One being, make sure you have all the options. I did make a video about the options I wish I would have had from the factory, and that's basically kind of what it is. I mean, you want to make sure you have all that stuff because it's cheaper to get it from the dealership than it is to buy it aftermarket. Like, it cost me about $700 just to have the Line X done, and when they put the Line X on at an individual third party, they're going to put it on a little thicker than what you're going to get at the dealership, but in turn, the aluminum tailgate on these is really light, and when you try to close it just lightly, it won't actually latch all the way. I mean, the latches latch, but the lights on the back of the cab are still on. You still get the warning the tailgate's open, so you end up having to slam your tailgate. I mean, I'm sure that could be adjusted. That's just something I haven't gotten into just yet, but just keep in mind, if you do get aftermarket Line X, be prepared to slam your tailgate to make it latch. Also, something that did end up happening to this truck in particular, they put oil and chips on our roads and ended up getting a tiny little rock chip up in that corner. You guys can't see it right now, but I will put in a clip of this. We did end up getting a chip in the windshield, and it sat in the sun for a little bit and ended up cracking. So now, 4,000 miles, we got to put a windshield in the truck. So basically, I'm going to wait until inspection time comes up before I do that. But we have to get a new windshield put in. That's just kind of my experience. Nothing really that happened with the truck design or any of that kind of stuff, but definitely is part of our journey so far, and a little disappointing because I've had vehicles with the original windshield that were over 25 years old, so now that we have to replace it right away, it just kind of sucks. So on this truck, I did end up putting the OEM mud flaps on, and one thing I gotta say about those is they do end up filling up with dirt and mud after a while. I did have somebody in the comments mention that this happened to them on their truck, and I thought the drains in the bottom might be sufficient, but after a little bit of mud gets in there, it ends up plugging it up, and then you end up with water and mud and all that kind of stuff that fills those up, and then they end up getting heavy. So I think what I might end up doing is just taking a Dremel tool or something like that, making the drain a little bigger just to kind of get all that dirt and garbage out of those mud flaps. So as far as things working correctly on the truck, in the last 6 months, I haven't really had too many issues. There is one thing I did want to talk about though, and that's the automatic unlock where you grab the door handle, the doors unlock on the truck. A couple of times I'll have locked the truck, I go inside a store, I come back out, put my hand on the door handle, I have the key fob in my pocket, nothing happens. So I tried a couple more times, still nothing. I end up having to unlock the truck with the key fob, and then the next time I try to unlock it by grabbing the door handle, it works just fine. So I don't know if it's an anomaly with this particular truck, but that has happened a couple of times, and I do think it's a little bit strange. So one complaint, and something that I definitely would like to change as soon as these tires are worn out, is the fact that these tires are junk. They don't work good in rain. They don't really work very good in the winter time. If you're trying to get around on icy conditions or anything like that, they are not very good whatsoever. You end up spinning a lot, having to use four-wheel drive a lot. I have talked about this before, but I mean, a lot of times, even with some of my other Dodges, you buy the vehicle with the factory tires, and you always have the option to either change them right away and sell your old tires, or run them until they're wore out and then end up buying other tires that are more suited to what you do with your vehicle. But all in all, these tires are pretty much only good for dry pavement and like perfect driving conditions. I wouldn't say that they're unsafe, but I would say that they're probably not ideal for a truck application. As far as driving the truck in the winter time, aside from the tires, the four-wheel drive system works absolutely awesome. Buttons are nicely located right here next to the shift knob. Put it in four-wheel auto is usually what I use, just in case you start spinning in the rear, then the front will kick in. But you also have your four low, regular four-wheel drive, and your two-wheel drive options. As soon as you put it in four-wheel drive, this thing's got all the traction you need. So as far as comfort and everything on the interior goes, this truck is absolutely amazing. The heated seats, the cooled seats, all have 3 levels on it, which is better than the 2 that they used to. So you got a high setting, a medium, and a low setting, and everything works really well with that. The big screen, it's absolutely awesome. There's no other vehicle that has a screen as big as this one, and I just love it. I mean, you can do 2 different things on it, and it's really easy to use. I've had no real issues at all with any of the functionality or anything like that. And actually the voice command on this truck does work pretty good. And if you want to set your climate controls, I don't know if everybody knows this, but if you use your voice command, you can actually set your driver's or passenger's temperature controls just by telling it to set the temperature to whatever degrees. And it's kind of a cool feature because even the Range Rover doesn't have that. I think my only gripe about the infotainment system is the navigation. It's not very accurate. I've actually had on a couple occasions where I put in an address and it takes me to like the old location where that place hasn't been for years. And it's just kind of funny because this is a 2019 truck. everything is up to date. I don't know what software they downloaded, if they took a Garmin from 2008 or something like that and used the technology from that for the GPS. I really don't know, but I've had this happen a couple of times, so definitely keep that in mind. GPS is not very accurate in these trucks. So there you have it, everybody. 6 months of ownership with the 2019 Ram. Everything has been going fairly well. As a whole, I am very, very happy with this truck. I love the look of it. Every time I look out at this truck, it is exactly what I was looking for. So that's pretty much the main thing. If you're still looking back at your truck every time you park it, you know you made the right choice. And I really feel that I did with this one. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you guys have any comments about anything I mentioned in this video, definitely drop it in the comment section. And as always, keep that hammer down.